Hi, friends, and welcome to Self Meet Soul, a podcast where we discuss how to discover what sets your soul on fire and modern ways to integrate spirituality into your daily life. My name is Juliana, and today we are going to be talking about visibility. Visibility in the sense of letting yourself be seen. And this has been something that's been really heavy on my mind this last month. I just did my healing circle last month centered around this, around visibility. Little sidebar, if you are interested in joining the Self Meet Soul Healing Circle to find community and just practice self-care, self-love, grow in your spiritual journey, I will be sure to link the interest form below. Visibility has been on my mind because as someone who is putting themselves out there online, which in reality we all are. If you're on social media, you're putting yourself out there in some way. And as someone who does that with this podcast and TikTok, which I've forced myself to get comfortable with over the last 2 years, it's something that I do think gets easier the more you practice it and the more you make yourself do it, allow yourself to be visible. However, I think that it's still something that I'm personally working on and that I know can be hard to do just in this time, in this day and age, right? So, what is visibility at its core? Visibility is being seen in your truth. So it can be something as simple as having an opinion on something and letting that opinion be known. Now, I will say there are probably a handful of people out there who are a little too comfortable expressing their opinions, but nevertheless, freedom of speech is still a thing. And kind of what I'm focusing on here is more so being able to say something that maybe isn't popular, that maybe is not a part of the status quo, something that maybe you disagree with and the rest of the people that you're talking to in your group, for example, don't agree with. That is allowing yourself to be visible, allowing yourself to be seen. You are speaking your truth. You are showing your beliefs, your opinions, your feelings, right? You're letting others know this is who I am and this is what I think, and it's okay for me to express that. Visibility going along with that is also expressing yourself authentically, being your true you. And I talked about this a bit in the healing circle last month. And something that I've never forgotten is that when I was little, I mean, honestly, I'm still pretty weird. I'm still pretty out there. But when I was little, I was really weird without any fear of being weird, And I think that that's something that most kids have. They are authentically themselves. And we're going to get back to the childhood wounds and the child part of this, because your inner child is part of the reason why you either do or do not allow yourself to be seen. So as I was a kid, I was pretty odd. It never really affected me in any way. I always found people who I got along with and accepted me for who I was. But there was one time when I had moved to a new school, and I moved a lot. I think I've talked about this in one of my earlier podcast episodes, but I moved a lot as a kid. And one time when my dad was dropping me off at school, and I love him. He meant the best for me, okay? He meant the best with this comment. But this just goes to show how even little comments like that our parents can make stick with us and affect our visibility. And he had told me, try not to be so weird. And I was kind of like, oh, I guess I was surprised that he had said that. And I don't remember what I said. I don't even remember how old I was, honestly. But it stuck with me because that is something I have never considered doing anything else of. I've never considered being someone else. And even in those moments, because to be honest here, and it would be so interesting if any of these people who knew me back then are listening to this, but when I would move sometimes, I would try and see if I could develop this new persona, this new part of my personality. Like, oh, I'm going to this new middle school. What kind of girl do I want to be? Do I want to be like the cool girl? Do I want to join choir? Do I want to, whatever it was, right? I would do that pretty often when I moved. And it never lasted, because something that I think I've been really proud of as far as my core personality traits is being unable to be anything but authentically myself and letting that be seen to others because I can't even help it. Right. So visibility is part of that, expressing yourself authentically and letting others witness the real you. It's also the ability to release that feeling, that need to shrink or hide, because visibility is vulnerability. They are one and the same. It takes bravery, it takes courage, it takes guts to show up in every single space as who you are authentically 100% of the time. And I think also sometimes people maybe have different masks for different situations, different personalities. And I don't necessarily think that this is something that's inherently bad or wrong, because I think at the end of the day, if you are someone who, one, needs to get along with certain people, then maybe there's different parts of you that you show and other parts of you that you might not show. Even just think about it from a perspective that we all have, most likely, which is work. The way that I am on this podcast is not the same way that I am at work. And that's for a variety of reasons, right? Because not necessarily appropriate to talk about spirituality in the workplace. It could be because I maybe don't want every single person in the workplace to know me at that personal level, right? But I think when we are out in maybe social situations or situations that have kind of more pressure for us, pressure to come off a certain way, maybe you're meeting your partner's parents or other family members, or you are going for a job interview or just trying to obtain something that you want to be seen a certain way. That is typically where we tend to not show up as completely ourselves, not allow all of those parts of us to be seen. And in some ways, that's necessary, depending on the situation, but in some ways, it's not. In some ways, I think we get so used to being like, this is the Juliana at work. This is the Juliana when I hang out with my spiritual friends. This is the Juliana when I hang out with my boyfriend's friends. Like, this is the Juliana when I hang out with my high school friends. All of these examples I can think of too, because I allow different parts of myself to be seen with these different groups of people. And in reality, there is no benefit to that, to those types of situations. In reality, you are still hiding some part of yourself and not allowing yourself to be in your fullest expression. So what are the reasons that we tend to hide ourselves or tend to shrink ourselves? The first reason is fear of judgment. There has been a situation, I'm sure, in everyone's life where you've said something or done something, or maybe you didn't even think about it. You subconsciously maybe showed some part of yourself and you received judgment from it. It doesn't even necessarily need to be verbal judgment, like, that was weird, or like, what was that? It doesn't even need to be words. It can go as simple as a look. And I'm sorry if you have experienced this before, but I'm sure most people have, where you just receive a look from someone and you know that whatever it is that you just did was not acceptable to them. Whatever part of you that you just showed, that you probably should have kept that inside of you. That have you heard that phrase? That was an inside thought. I got lots of opinions on that, honestly. I think sometimes there are inside thoughts, like maybe you say something really freaking mean that that did not need to be said. Yeah, that was an inside thought. But sometimes when people end up sharing like a lot of information, and I'm saying this specifically because I am someone who doesn't really have a filter, I pretty much say what I think most of the time. So if you've said to someone, because they just said something and were themselves in a situation, and if you're like, that was an inside thought, chances are that probably A, hurt their feelings, or B, they didn't even realize how that affected them, but their subconscious filed that away as, okay, that was not received well and you should not do it again. Why does being judged even matter? Going back to caveman roots, like survival roots, when we needed community to survive, which arguably we still need community to survive. I know that the way we operate as society has shifted a lot, and it kind of seems like the powers that be, the powers in control, kind of want us to be separate from each other. That is literally a whole other podcast episode that could be. But it was life or death to be accepted way back in the day. If you weren't accepted, then you were shunned from the tribe and you were not given food and you would probably die. That instinct, that part of our nature never went away. It has just exacerbated into this thing that has become so much more that it doesn't necessarily need to be. Now, us getting a weird look from someone in the friend group, our nervous system doesn't know the difference between that and life or death. Like our nervous system immediately is anxious, is upset, is worried, because we're perceiving that as a threat to our well-being and a threat to us being able to thrive in community. Another reason that we hide our parts of ourselves and don't allow ourselves to be visible is the fear of being too much or being not enough. Likely there is a moment you can pinpoint where someone in your life has either told you you're doing too much, you're so extra, or even on the flip side, like you're not enough, that's not good enough. Who do you think you are that you think you could do XYZ? And both ends of those spectrum are really detrimental to our mental well-being and to our ability to feel comfortable to be authentic and seen in the future. I cannot tell you the amount of times that people have said I was being extra, and sometimes it was like in a joking way, sometimes it was not. You know, sometimes they maybe didn't even say it to me straight up. Sometimes I could just tell, right, those nonverbal cues, because, you know, still got social awareness, right? And most times I would say that it didn't really bother me that much, but I will tell you, completely candid moment, that has shown up as a shadow in dating. Like my current relationship, in the beginning, he was very much like so infatuated with me. And that's typically how it goes when I'm in a new relationship. But this pattern that I have learned over time from past breakups and past partners is that it's all really great and fine and dandy and so exciting. And oh my gosh, she's so energetic, so bubbly, so like just a ray of sunshine in the beginning. And then over time, when those emotions, because that's basically what it stems from, is I'm a very emotional person. I express my emotions loudly. I mean, I'm Italian and I'm half black. Like I express myself boldly, right? And I'm a Leo. I got triple threat right there. But sometimes at some point, I think partners have realized like, oh, this doesn't just apply to her positive, happy emotions. It also applies to the ones that I don't like so much, when she's upset, when she's hangry, when she's being jealous, when she's anxious. And that had evolved into like, this is too much. Like, you're doing too much. And that had shown up as a shadow in my current relationship when he had expressed how he felt about just who I am and my emotions and my personality. And I'm pretty sure my immediate reaction, I remember like where we were to when we had this discussion, I was like, we'll see how long that lasts. And while it hasn't turned into something that I don't allow myself to be seen with completely, I will say, it is like a little footnote in the back of my head that like, oh, when you are completely yourself, when you don't try to relax, calm down, I know all my girlies have heard that before. When you are not overreacting, you are more worthy of love, of affection, of partnership, of community. So feeling like you're too much or feeling like you're not good enough for your job, for your friends, for your partner, for your family, all of those will cause you to shut down and to hide and to shrink yourself until you become so small that you're not even you anymore. Because whatever past experience have happened, whether that's from your childhood, because we all know it starts in childhood. It starts from your caregivers and your siblings and just the people who raised you. It starts with how they treat you, how they approach you and being yourself, because you don't come out of the womb like, oh, this part of my personality is too much. I'm a little too weird. I'm a little too anxious. I'm a little too quiet. Whatever it is, you don't come out thinking that that's something wrong with you. You are told that. You are treated that way. So over time, you teach yourself that it's better to stay small. It's better to put on whatever mask, whatever persona, whatever energy that this person wants when I'm with them. And maybe that looks different when I'm with this person. It's safer to do that because then I will be accepted. But the truth of the matter is, if you are not with people where you feel like you can be yourself and you can let yourself be seen, then you're not with the right people. Those people are not your people. If you leave a situation feeling anxious about what you said, or if you came off a certain way, those are not your people. And that doesn't mean I need to change this about myself or I need to hide this part of myself so that I can be accepted with them. It means I don't need to surround myself with those people. Of course, that can be harder when it comes to like family and things like that. But that's where you have to put in those boundaries, right? Now, all of this can kind of compound into itself, right? So it starts off with how you do or do not show up with your family and your friends and people at your work and strangers, right? And this can eventually spill over into the parts of you that really make you you and the parts of you that create and showcase your purpose. So, what I mean by that is that if you are afraid to be seen, then you are less likely to go forth in your dharma, in your purpose. You're less likely to take that leap and say, okay, this is part of me. This is what I'm giving to the world, because you're scared, right? It is a vulnerable thing to do. If you are really passionate about writing, let's say, maybe you want to write a book. If you're really passionate about fitness and you want to be a fitness influencer, if you want to be a podcast host, any type of passion, if you have not addressed this wound of feeling the need to shrink yourself and hide yourself and being afraid of judgment, rejection, ridicule, then you're less likely to follow through on your passions. And your passions are typically linked to your purpose, why you are here on this earth, what it is that you are offering the collective. And that would be such a shame, wouldn't it? Like, to be so afraid that you decide, okay, I'm not going to do what it is that I feel like I meant to do because I'm too nervous about it. So when that happens, you're more likely to stay stuck in a life that is not meant for you. Simple example here. I always come back to teaching because changing what you thought was your purpose and what you were meant here to do in that kind of way when you're that young can make a lasting impact, right? So I was literally drowning and so sad and upset and anxious when I was a teacher. I was so unhappy, like just a shell a lot of the times of myself until it was the weekend or summer break or any other break. And I really had this idea in my head. I have this idea of myself that I'm not someone who changes their mind. I'm not someone who deviates from my plan, typically. That's that type A controlling part of me, right? So when the time came and I was like, I literally am suffering in this job, I need to quit. I made a pros and cons list for a bit. I went back and forth for a little bit because one of my biggest fears was showing up as someone who changed their mind. But how more authentic can that be? It's okay to change your mind. We're human. Nobody's perfect. It's okay to show people, yeah, I struggled. I realized this isn't the right fit for me. And so I'm pivoting. I didn't stay too long in that because at the end of the day, the sadness and unhappiness really won out over the fear of how it would look for me to quit teaching. But that is something that can easily happen to you if you are holding yourself back and afraid of how you look, that you decide not to go and do something that can completely take your life in a different direction that it probably is not meant to go in. And when it comes to showing up online, we're shifting gears into this now. That is something that I am learning how to do still. This podcast has been going on for about 2 years now, and showing up online is still something that's a little difficult for me because there is this rawness and realness and vulnerability to creating something, whatever it is that you create, right? Creating something, putting it out there for the masses to see, and then being like, okay, I hope someone likes this. Hopefully no one thinks I'm cringy. Hopefully no one thinks I'm weird. Hopefully the people I know in real life aren't talking about me behind my back. Like, what is she doing? These are all thoughts that come up, right? They're thoughts that cause you to retreat, to shrink yourself, to not follow your passions because it's scary for people to see you. And maybe whatever it is that you're creating and sharing with the world, those might be parts of you that the people in your life haven't seen. Maybe your family hasn't seen that. Maybe some of your friends haven't seen that. And now you're posting this or sharing it with other people, strangers to see. And sometimes that can feel way more safe, right? I don't think twice about my listener in the UK, the people on the other side of the world for me who listen to this podcast. Grateful for your listen, of course, but I don't worry so much about how they perceive me because I don't know them, right? But the people who know me personally, that matters a little bit more to me. Then of course that can turn into something else, right? Then it can become influencers deal with. Oh, there's these strangers online. I've showed myself in some way and now they are bullying me. Or whatever it is that they're saying it about me now. They're making TikToks where they make fun of me. There's always risks when it comes to putting something out there that is you because it hurts more. If it's not received well, that hurts so much more because you're being you and it's coming from your heart. And that's painful. But it's important to remember that who you are, when you embody that person, when you are so yourself that it's subconscious. Sometimes you just gotta embrace the cringe. You gotta just realize this is who I am. And there is someone out there, and I'm sure you know more than one person. I'm sure there is someone in your family or your friends or your partner, someone who loves you for who you are wholeheartedly, even those parts of yourself that you've taught yourself, this isn't like really the best part of me. I should put that away, because those parts of you deserve love too, and they deserve to be seen too. Those people, you already have some of them around you. So imagine how many more people can resonate with you and connect with whatever it is that you're creating, however it is that you're showing up and allowing yourself to fully be seen, that you don't even know about. There are 7 billion people in this planet. You really think that there aren't thousands of people who would appreciate you for being who you are? Because there are. And the beautiful thing about it is that when you are entirely yourself, you inspire other people to be themselves. And when other people are being themselves, they are more likely to follow their passions and discover their purpose. And then suddenly we're healing the collective. Suddenly we're a bunch of people who have embodied who we truly are, who aren't blinded by what's socially acceptable. Obviously, there's caveats to this, but you know what I mean. Suddenly, there's so many people doing that and living their purpose and helping other people. And then suddenly, the planet's a little bit of an easier place to live. So what I want you to do is to work on this mindset that you might have around being seen, to get rid of that imposter syndrome where you feel like, who am I to think that I could do this? Who am I to think that I can just show up as myself and like that's okay? Who am I to think that this thing about me is okay when I've been told it's not socially acceptable? Get rid of that imposter syndrome. Get rid of that lack of abundance mindset. Know that by being myself, I call in more people who are aligned with me. And together we can heal our community, and that will just expand and expand and expand. Just like a candle, just like a light. So today, I'm going to leave you with some journaling prompts. So I want you to think about, 1, where in my life am I currently holding myself back from being seen? 2, what am I afraid will happen if I fully allow myself to be seen? And last prompt, what would it look like to take up space unapologetically? So try and visualize here. What would my life look like if I'm fully myself? I fully dive into my passion, whatever it is that I want to create. I'm not afraid of how it's going to be received. I'm not afraid of if I can actually succeed at it. I'm just fully living in that abundant energy. If you journal on these prompts, I would love to hear about them. So you could definitely leave a comment. But that is all that I have for you today. If you enjoyed this podcast, please be sure to leave a review or a comment and share it with someone in your life. In the same vein of visibility, be sure to also follow me on Instagram or TikTok at selfmeetsoul, and I would love to connect with you. Chat with you later.